Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be about Ounahi, who was excellent for Morocco in the World Cup and is rumoured to be going to Leeds. But before we get into that, if you could just hit that subscribe button down below, that would really help me out. So yeah, Ounahi, I watched every game at the World Cup, barring one, which was Argentina versus Saudi Arabia, which was a bad one to miss because there was a big upset in that game. But I did see every single minute that Ounahi played. And when I was actually watching the World Cup, I was thinking he would actually be a good fit for Leeds and he would do really well. But it would mean a slight change of system, but I don't think that's a bad thing because I think everybody will agree with me that we need to change something to stop conceding so many goals in the Premier League. Now, Ounahi, as you can see by his shirt, is a number 8 by number and also by characteristics, and is a box-to-box midfielder. Now, the fact that Click has gone, we needed to bring in somebody, maybe not of the exact same type of player, but somebody who could do a similar job and just basically fill that hole in the middle of the park where we'd be missing somebody. And I think Ounahi would allow us to play in a 4-3-3. The things that I think he was so good at the World Cup were keeping the ball. Now, one of the big issues with Leeds at the moment is that we can't keep the ball. And I was talking about this on the Final Word last night. And the fact that we can't keep the ball is a big thing for us because I think we panic. Somebody called us Anxiety FC in the live chat, which made me laugh because it's true. We get the ball into attacking positions and somebody like Brendan Aronson, or most of the time Nonto doesn't really give the ball away, but a lot of our attacking players get the ball and they think, right, we've got to go direct to goal as fast as possible because that's what Marsh has told them. And I think we panic a little bit and we give the ball away too much. I think what Ounahi is good at is keeping hold of the ball, and whether that be with his passing, which I don't think is the best passing I've ever seen, but what is good about him is his strength, his ability to drive with the ball, and his ability to beat a man, even though he's got quite a big frame, quite a tall lad, but he's actually pretty good at beating a man, and I think that's really, really good for Leeds. He's rumoured to be about £15 million, which I don't think is over the top. Now, I wasn't actually going to make a video about Ounahi because it seemed like he'd sort of snubbed Leeds and said that he would prefer to go to Serie A, to the champions, Napoli. But Napoli seem like they've only offered a smaller fee than that, and that they couldn't really put up any more money because I don't think Italian football is at its richest right now. The other one linked was PSG, but PSG seem like they've sort of backed off as well, and they're not going to go in for it. So it's kind of open for Leeds to go in and get Ounahi. Now, people will say, well, I don't want him if he didn't want to come here at first. But to be honest, if you're a foreign player and you've not played in England before and you have no loyalty to a club like Leeds United, you probably would pick the Italian champions. If we took bias out of it, you'd probably rather go to Napoli and play in the Champions League than you would go to Leeds and scrap relegation. So I kind of understand that from him. But the draw of the Premier League is a real thing, and the amount of money that is in the Premier League is definitely a real thing. So I think Ounahi's options are sort of closing down on him in the fact that if he wants to move, it's probably going to be to the Premier League and to be to Leeds. But I do think that he was excellent in the World Cup, wriggling out of tight situations, driving with the ball, carrying his team up the pitch. We have other players like Willy Nonto, like Crescencio Somerville, players like that who like to grab the ball and drive us grab us by the scruff of the neck and drive us up the pitch. And I think that it's really good to have that in your team, but we don't really have that from a central midfield position. Now, I'm going to get the tactics board out now because I'm going to show you how Ounahi would fit into our formation and how he would actually help things. So if you look at the yellow team and imagine that is Leeds, you've got your back four there, the two in midfield, the holding midfielders, Adams and Rocker, and then in the midfield three in front of them, you've got all your attacking midfielders, which is why we've been so narrow and why our fullbacks have needed to provide our width. But if we went to a 4-3-3, I think this is how we would line up. You'd have, say, Somerville or Sinistera and Nonto would go out wide and become the actual wingers. And then that's all that would change. You would have actual wingers providing the width, and this role here, we don't really have anyone currently that would play that role. And I think that's why Ounahi would be such a good fit in there, because he is an out-and-out number 8, a box-to-box midfielder. When he needs to, he can drop in and he can help these two with the defensive responsibilities, Adams and Rocker. And also, he's good at getting forward as well and getting balls into the box and dribbling past players and basically, like I said, dragging us up the pitch. The other sort of problem I think this solves to an extent is the chip to the back post issue, which Jesse said, apparently Jesse said that he hasn't seen that in any other leagues. It's only in the Premier League where they do that. But if you've got a big gaping hole because you've got a fullback that's all the way up there, what are they going to do? They're going to chip it right into that gap there where their player is going to be running onto it. So I think the issue can be slightly resolved by the fact that if you have wingers, they create their own width. And that means that your fullbacks don't need to get as high. Like, they can get high and overlap, which is probably what Jesse will encourage them to do, but not in every attack do they need to actually do that to provide us with any width. Like I said, the wingers will provide their own width, and I think Azzedine Ounahi is the key to using this formation for us in the Premier League. I don't think somebody like Darko JB is ready to play that role, but I think Azzedine Ounahi comes in, sits there, and plays perfectly that number 8 role. I think the physical build of Ounahi is going to be important in there as well. The fact that the Premier League is such a physically demanding league. He's 6 foot tall. He's only 22 years old, so he's got that zip in him still. He's got that pace about him to get there to the ball first. And I think the fact that he is 6 foot, he's not a short lad, and he seems to be able to put himself about a bit, especially in the World Cup where we saw him was able to squeeze people off the ball, get his shoulders in, get his body in front of them, and manage to come out with the ball in a lot of situations where a player normally wouldn't. I think that's going to be a massive factor to him settling into the Premier League so quickly. The North African has played for Angers for the last couple of years, but he really sort of burst onto the world stage at the World Cup, which, like I say, I watched every game and I was really, really impressed with Morocco as a whole. But especially Azzedine Ounahi in that central midfield role was a revelation, really, because I'm being honest, I'd never heard of him until I saw him in the World Cup, and I thought he was brilliant and entertaining to watch. And I do really think he's the key to unlocking this new 4-3-3 formation, which could solve a lot of defensive issues for Leeds. Now, before somebody comes at me in the comments, it's not going to be a solution to every single one of our defensive issues, this new formation change, but I do think it would help cut out a few of those to the back stick passes. I think there are deeper problems at play with our football at the moment, with our defending. I do think, like I've said a couple of times before, I think Jesse needs to bring in a strong defensive coach to really help him out there. Otherwise, his time at Leeds could be limited. But if Leeds do go out and get Azzedine Ounahi to add to the squad, it's been a great January transfer window. I think Verba looks really good. I think Rutter, who signed last night, if you haven't caught that video, I did a little quick update saying that he'd signed. But I think Ounahi would cap off a perfect January transfer window. And it would, you've got a striker, a centre midfielder, and a left centre back / left back / holding midfielder. You basically brought a whole new spine to the team, which really could help us out massively towards the latter stages of this season. I am going to be away for the Cardiff game, so there won't be a live watch along. I will be watching it and uploading a YouTube short reaction, and then on Sunday I will be back here again live for the Brentford game, so come and check that out on the channel. In the meantime, there's going to be plenty of stuff in and around the Leeds Lately sphere regarding transfers and more updates on Azzedine Ounahi, who, like I say, I think would be an excellent signing. So let me know in the comments what you think of Azzedine Ounahi, if you saw him at the World Cup, if you as well thought that he'd be a good fit at Leeds at the time and now he's being linked. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I shall see you next time on Leeds Lately.